Hello there, beautiful people.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Indeed.
So guys, as always, please do subscribe. All three channels, get that little bell clicked, and hopefully you'll get a notification or two. I gotta feel that the odds go up as you go down the line of channels. You know, Evolutionary over here, of course, we're kind of saying what it is, exposing what it is for what it is, and covering the day-to-day occurrences on this crazy planet. EEARTS, we're looking at the earth changes. We're going deeper. We did one yesterday that we were sharing a little venture out in the desert. Oh, we got so much more to share if we could go and sort through some of this stuff. There we go into Tartaria, down the giant rabbit hole, the different extraterrestrial species. Yes, there are tons of extraterrestrials out there. There are, definitively. We know, we don't speculate, we know, but it's up to you guys to make up your own decisions. And of course, so many of you guys already have had your experiences as well. And then Heart's Home, it's all the lighter side. It's how we raise our vibrations and frequencies. And for instance, one of the more popular ones that we put up over there, I think it is the most popular, is the biofield tuning session with Cindy. And I help a little bit, but she is the master when it comes to playing with forks.
No, he helps a lot. We both do really, really good at that. It's really good, very, very uplifting, and we will be putting more of those up there along with a lot of light codes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I'm finding the tendency for us is to start with the news just because it's the stuff that's hard hitting. It's the stuff that sometimes you got to take a deep breath and look at what's going to happen or what is happening. And it's pretty obvious what's happening. What are we looking at? Well, do you have a guess? See, now this is where Cindy doesn't know. Because, I mean, I put these videos together and then she chimes in. When it comes to the news stuff, it's not her bag of tea because, you know, she is a channel par excellence. And, you know, that part of that ability is... it keeps her so she has to be shielded a little bit away from the darkness that honestly is what we are facing. And what you're looking at is, again, another version of visions of what's to come shortly in the United States. These arrows are actually indicating one vision of reference points to where the U.S. is going to be attacked in the very, very near future. As many people have come to the realization that the U.S. and Nato are Babylon the Great from the Bible per se. And you can see there's a lot going on this map. And we were talking about yesterday Henry Groover. And then Dimitri Duduman came up, and I'm not sure, I forget how this came up, but he is again another one that had a very, very similar vision as Henry Groover. I believe his vision first came to him in 86. 96, you get another Christian minister, Dimitri Duduman, receiving a vision of a coming attack on America coming from both China and Russia. And this is what all the visions see. It's China, it's Russia, and there's more. But wait, there's more. It's not just China, it's not just Russia. This is what, again... I've always shared, and you know, you can look at what I've shared going over to Evolutionary, going to the playlists, and this first one that is on consciousness and reality, visions of the future, that was posted of January of 2018. There was one of which I talked about it earlier, but it has been removed by YouTube. So, you know, again, going back over 5 years now, sharing the same message out in the open with everybody. You know, the U.S. and NATO is going to be attacked by China and Russia. And these visions are very, very similar. It's very, very similar. And even the pattern of the attack is very, very similar. And of course, we have Washington's vision, which some will say it wasn't really his vision. But anyway, you look at it, was it put there by the secret societies? Was it put there by somebody else was a vision? Well, you know, it is said it's been attributed to Washington. Irregardless, it's the same story pretty much all over again. Now, the first-hand account of this vision was given in 1859. Now, this is supposedly taking place at Valley Forge, you know, that infamous cold, snowy place where it looked like the Patriots were beaten, looked like they were downtrodden. They couldn't keep going on. They didn't have boots on their feet. They were fighting, frostbite, etc. They were running out of supplies, and Washington has this vision, and it shows that they're going to win. But it also foretold the Civil War, which, again, the first-hand account of this vision was given in 1859. That's 2 years before the Civil War. And it also showed what's going to happen now, which is an invasion of the USA by foreign armies. And it's fascinating. You got all these people that have these same sorts of visions. Here you have Chuck Youngbrandt, Destruction of America. He's another prophet. Now, again, the thing that I want to get across to people, which I know most of you guys, 99-point-something% of you guys understand because you watch us every day pretty much, the same core. They don't want to expose us to others. Is that, these visions per se, as we were sharing yesterday, the vision that Henry Groover got, he took it to come from God. Well, what we got was it actually came from Pleiadians wanting to help out. And Pleiadians are fifth density. So again, these are people that are actually part of the Galactic Federation. And same thing with many of these other beings. We have been able to, since Cindy is the channel that she is, and last night had a conversation with the one that guards her, because we do have one specific, you might call it an angel, that guards Cindy. So nothing negative could pass by, because they are always trying to get by. They are always trying to come in, but they can't, because we do have very, very high level protection. And when we get outside the body, all of a sudden we're not blocked necessarily by all these constraints and all these things that divide us when we're in the body. Again, dogma is a man-made thing. And it's also something that's given to us by the controllers, in which case it is not really a man-made thing per se. It's not even, something that comes from this planet, although it's given to us on this planet to control our mindset. But you will still find that there are beings that come from all these different traditions, and they're all working together. So, you don't have to believe that there's Pleiadians or Arcturians out there. Doesn't matter. They're still going to do what they're doing to try to free humanity from the enslavement that it's been under. And here, his prophecies include the city of Chicago is going to have a massive earthquake and be destroyed. Fault line from Chicago to St. Louis will divide. One side will drop 20 feet. I would guess it's, according to, if you go by Casey's readings, it would be the eastern side that goes down. The western side rises up slightly. As he said in his map, which I don't have up here at this time, I could pull it up though, and we always are constantly referring to it in various videos. But he basically gave the Midwest as kind of rising, but on the eastern side of things, it kind of slumping and lowering a little bit. Great Lakes will crash through the Mississippi River and reach the Gulf of Mexico. Again, that's going in line with what Casey said. U.S. military will round up rioters and shoot them on the spot. And the U.S. military will not be well supplied with material. What are we hearing now all over the place? Oh, well, Zelensky's asking for more weapons, and we get our generals and our top-line officials saying, we don't really have a lot of stuff here. That's the whole purpose of Ukraine. That's one of the purposes of Ukraine, is to wipe out the NATO material so that when the attack comes on us, we don't have anything. Even with all the money that they spend, which is your sweat equity, this is part of the whole purpose. And people have seen this, again, going back decades and decades. And it goes on and on. Farmers will not have what they need to grow food. Yes. And again, this is 96. People will wait in long lines to get small amounts of food. Yes. And, here you go. Light of righteousness will diminish and darkness will pervade in the land. We're watching that, that's for sure. The land of America will be dead, and people will get out of the cities and go into safe zones. Weather's going to go out of control, and along with the economic collapse. After the big earthquake of Chicago, Midwest, within 37 days, Russia and China and its allies will attack America while America is at its weakest. And I've been not getting Chicago in the Midwest, but it could be. But I still see Cascadia first, and I've had I'm watching TV visions of Cascadia and the San Andreas and massive destruction, and I do feel completely that there'll be something that looks natural, and then it's going to happen, because it wasn't natural. None of this is natural. Russia will attack from the east, China from the southwest, Mexico from the south. Russian occupation may last 7 years, not the tribulation. China and Japan will attack Russia during the invasion. Yeah, again, Russia might not end up aligned with China in the long run. There could be something there. So he saw a massive attack in Florida that would sink it, and that's not what Casey. The timelines are always changing. China will kill men, women, and children in California with no mercy. He gave a map of what he saw happening here, and you can see. It's interesting. All these maps, they're similar and dissimilar. There are definitely similarities when we look at these attack points. As I shared with you, I mean, I had visions when I was in the Carolinas, and even before I moved to the Carolinas, prior to 2007, it seemed like every time I saw, and I would get these visions of the war, every so often, like every couple of years, there'd be like 2 or 3 of them that would come through, and then I wouldn't get anything, and then a couple of years later, I get a few more. I always saw myself looking at this area, but that could be because this is where I've lived most of the last 15 years. It's been in the south. Now a little bit towards the center, because the guides have said to us the safest zone is going to be kind of in the middle. You see last U.S. stronghold here centered around the middle. This is the earthquake damage. Now, could this be from the New Madrid going? Again, April of 2024 is going to be the second of the 2 eclipses, which cross pretty much right at the New Madrid. Perhaps. And you see these green areas here. It's interesting. Red arrows are intended to indicate them traveling the interstates. Yes, you don't want to be directly off of an interstate, especially the big routes, like 20 and 40 and, again, 10 to, these are main areas. Obviously 95 going north and south, and 5, you don't want to be on 5 at all or around that zone. And you see these little green zones. So, I'll give you guys all the links. Does he have to be right? Of course not. And timelines are constantly changing. So 96, that was 20 something years ago already. We're rapidly moving on down the line. Prophecies can change, but it still seems like the bigger point when we look to the Hopi tradition. World War III will be started by those people who first received the light, the divine wisdom or intelligence in the other old countries. And so they list India, China, Egypt, Palestine, Africa. The United States will be destroyed, land and people, by atomic bombs and radioactivity. Only the Hopis in the homeland will be preserved as an oasis for refugees to flee. Now, we've gotten that the Galactic Fed won't allow a nuclear Armageddon. And this is, again, why I feel that you saw that Beirut blast, because I do think that they're planning to use multiple blasts like that in the seaboard cities. So those cities along the coast, as, I think it was Dimitri Duduman, where they were saying, or no, it was Henry Groover who was saying, how could this be that their subs are right on our coast, almost practically sitting on our beach? All of a sudden they pop up and they're right there, and all of a sudden the attack on all the coastal cities happens. Well, because again, this is part of a bigger plan, and yes, nations war against nation, but that's part of the bigger plan. I thought this was curious, and this is, again, Hopi predictions. In general, the predictions of Indian spirits about global cataclysms cover the period up to 2035. Isn't that curious? Because 2035 is the year we get that you got a chunk of humanity that's in the smart cities. They're in the smart cities, and the smart cities exist within the old cities for the most part. But again, there's many less people on the planet, by which time, according to the indicated prophecies of spirits, the number of people on our planet will be noticeably decreased due to strange illnesses and diseases predicted by these spirits. Native American predictions speak of a mysterious virus that will plague the entire planet like a plague and noticeably harm the world's population. Hello. Yeah, I mean, it's all part of what we see going on right here. So, again, there's a lot of Christian missionaries that are getting this. There are some from the Eastern Orthodox Church. There are some from the Catholic Church. There are some from the indigenous peoples. It doesn't belong to one dogma. Our buddy Alois, who we call Ali, he's a great soul. He really is. And just like with Peter Dunev, who is right here, after we've done videos on them, they contact us. They come and they want to share more. And they share, what they're seeing as they're watching all this unfold from where they are now, which is basically the flip side of the coin that we exist in. Heads you're in 3D, so to speak, tails you're in 4D. And that's the case for the majority of souls. We do have the opportunity to ascend up to 5D, and as is said in the Sanatana Dharma and in the Vedic texts as well as the text that we get from Taoism and Buddhism, we can always move our frequency upwards. We can always move our frequency upwards and jump out of that coin toss of 3D, 4D per se. We always have that opportunity. It's just about putting the time, the effort, and the work into it, because it does take work. It's not about saying one phrase or doing one thing or believing one dogma. No, it's spiritual work that we have to do. Absolutely. And it's really work that leads us to an understanding of the oneness of all things. So Ali also, and we've talked about him numerous times, 1894 and 1959, he was a German dowser and professional well digger. He was a clairvoyant. During the Second World War, he successfully predicted the locations of bomb strikes and where missing people were. This guy had real amazing abilities, and he is a beautiful soul. He still is a beautiful soul. And that's one thing I want to get across to you guys. When people die, they're not gone. They're really not gone. Often, they're still watching you. Your loved ones still are looking at you most of the time. In most cases, not always. It really depends on the circumstances. But again, he saw Russia go. And when they go, and they go right across Ukraine. And again, they go pretty much over the entirety of Europe, and he did also see China swoop down and attack the U.S. at the same time. Now, Bulgarian mystic Peter Dunov predicted the superwave that's coming, and he predicted it 39 years before superwave theory ever was even talked about by the scientists, because the scientists, again, they're part of damage control. They're part of allowing us to know something is true, but they're going to catch you and give you a little distortion. When they realize humanity is going to figure out something, then the science pops in. They're damage control.
They are. They're there to give information for you to follow and for you to believe in and for you to take upon yourself. All of these men have this thing in common where they're all seeing the future. They can all see the information. But because light is information, when they see it, you can't just put a time, date, stamp. You can try. I mean, it's worth a try. Throw something out there, but you're not always going to be right because you see things differently when you're very prophetic. The one thing I can say that I really, really agree with is about the Hopi when they talk about those people who are coming into the light and coming into their wisdom. We have a lot of that now. We have a lot of people being activated, a lot of people coming into their power, a lot of people realizing their abilities that have done the spiritual work that it takes to bring these abilities about safely. and people know exactly what's going on. You know, they look out into the world and they feel very uneasy. And the reason they feel uneasy is because they know this is not sustainable. Suddenly they can see through the veil. They can see past the veil. They see the control construct and how they are ever, you know, making things look like they have a handle on it, when in reality, the emotions, and when those people who are activated are looking out into the future, they can feel the chaos in it all, and they can feel the truth in it all. And that's where we're at. We're having so many people understand, hey, this isn't right. So many people getting out of the control construct, or at least trying, you know, making an effort to get outside of things. And that's going to continue to grow. And as that grows, that's where we have a chance to, as a collective, take our ability to see and co-create another reality. We need numbers, though. We need numbers, but we're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So he talks about this divine fire that's going to come purify and prepare everyone in regards to the new era. So what we've gotten from the star children that have contacted us from 2055 is you have humanity in a split state, so to speak. You have those living in the smart cities that have done everything Klaus and Co. have said are going to happen. They've done it. They're part of it, and you know they have that life going on. They have the technology. They have everything. They don't own anything. They have everything right there at their fingertips. You know, when it wears out, they get another one. Because basically they are just basically energy, resources, tools. They're slaves. You know, they are slaves to the system. And then you have those that have resisted and are out there and living in harmony with nature in a manner that you might call kind of Stone Age. But in reality, they're blissful. They're happy. They don't own anything because they would never think about owning anything in the sense of, you know, owning land. No, we never own land. We never own land in this system, but we won't own land in the future. We will ask the earth, you know, can we use the land for this purpose? And we wait for an answer. If the answer is yes, then we go ahead and we build ourselves a shelter and we start farming, etc. If the answer is no, then we move on elsewhere. And the answer is probably going to be no, because it's probably not going to be good for us there. There might be a storm, an earthquake, a hurricane. There could be something that's coming. And the earth is always looking to protect its children. So Peter also saw before the superwave comes, decades before, you're going to have massive upheavals, floods, hurricanes, gigantic fires, earthquakes, sweep away everything, blood flowing in abundance, revolutions, terrible explosions, wars, again. It's going to be all those type of things, and there's going to be a lot less people there when the wave does hit. But when the wave hits, everything has changed. And now he says that those that are not going to be able to hold the new frequency of the 5D Earth will be taken elsewhere. So again, we have this period where it feels like as we've shared with you guys, the Anunnaki, the giants themselves, will be amongst us in 2035. And there might be a handful of them. There might be 3 to 5 of them, maybe 6 in the bigger cities, overseeing the humans. You're going to have, you know, drones, and you're going to have robotics going on as well. But at some point in time, there's going to be a galactic superwave that's going to shift things. And what's that going to look like? You know, again, these humans that are living outside of those cities are not apparently visible. As long as they keep their frequency high, they're not really visible to those other beings. That's the key. So we've changed. And these humans that have resisted, they have what we would call superhuman abilities, very similar to humans when we get outside of the Dark Age. And I know this is a lot to take in, so just hang on a second and take a deep breath. It's Monday.
Yes, let's just find a place of enjoyment and hang out, enjoy where we're at, take some deep breaths, enjoy everything that's around you, and just really relax a little bit and work on that part of yourself where you can take this information in, but not necessarily take it on. We got to take it in because we need to know, well, where are you going to go? Which way do you want to point your ship? We need to know what's going on in that aspect, but we don't have to own it. We don't need to allow our emotions to get wrapped around it and get angry. So just relax and hang in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy, guys. Okay, you ready? Let's keep going. Now we're going to take a look at what's going on in the world. And we see a list of objects in Iran on which missile strikes were carried out has become known. Headquarters of the Iranian National Guard, IRGC, Special Force Base, CUDS, ammunition. You know what you see: refinery, weapons factory, military base. This is preemptive strikes. And also, this is preparatory strikes. Now, this was done by Israel and the U.S. Some have said a mirage was used, so maybe France, maybe UK. I don't know at this time definitively who else was involved. Of course, they all probably know at the highest level. And this is, again, another lockstep step towards WW3. Ukraine could get F-16 fighter jets as support within the Pentagon grows. Insanity. We are heading to WW3. Yeah. I know there was so many comments when I was bringing this up in 2017, 2018, 2019. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. You're watching it happen. And so many people said it would never happen. Never happen. Again, people get so complacent. They don't understand that all of this is scripted. As you look at Philly, look at all those cops. This is exactly what they want going on. Again, Nostradamus, who, again, was aligned with the church, the Illuminati, the power structure of the planet, and who now, now that he's outside of the body, does he wish he did things differently? Sure. So does Aleister Crowley. He wishes he did things differently. But what they're doing is they're focusing on, believe it or not, on 4D. You're still learning. You're still learning. You're still growing. We grow on the 4D too. It's not like your soul is ever stuck in any one spot. It's never stuck in any one spot unless you, and this would be temporarily too. I don't think it's permanent. Unless you go ahead and you become part of the Borg, then you might be stuck for several lifetimes. And we can get stuck. Traumatic events can definitely make us stuck, and that's what they know too. They want you stuck. They don't want you going up higher. The worst thing for them is somebody ascending to 5D. That's just, that sheep has fled. It's not in the barn. It's not in the corral. We don't even know where it went. They can't see anything in 5D. They can't see 5D. They're just basically lower astral realm, creepy crawly, slimy things. It's really what these guys are.
Bottom feeders.
Yes, that's what the term that the Galactics use for them. They are bottom feeders. So when we see the bottom feeders deciding that the plague upon the land is not over, of course not. Of course, we understand. We get the bigger picture. White House targets cryptocurrencies. Stronger enforcement by regulators, they say, is needed. Now, of course, they blame each other. They blame the nations. The nations are scapegoats. Oh, yeah, North Korea, fraud, financial losses are some of the dangers emanating from cryptocurrency industry. And according to the White House blog published on January 27th, it argued for enhanced oversight of cryptocurrencies. Why? Because, we know the bad guys are going to get us. And the bad guys control all the pieces on the board. So, but they are kind of telling us the truth because, they control the bad guys. They're all part of the same crew. I mean, this is good cop, bad cop. Now, again, if you're born in North Korea, you're fed one line of propaganda. You're born in South Korea, you're fed another thing of propaganda. You're born in China, there you go, more propaganda. U.S., more propaganda. The deep state is real. UK's Dominic Cummings admits deep state is real. Oh, yeah, former advisor to Boris Johnson. Again, Boris Johnson, former prime minister, his dad said UK needs to have about maybe 15 million people max. What's going to happen to the other 55 million? 53 million? I don't know. Do you? Again, this is all laid out there. This is all part of that grand scheme. And yeah, they are letting us know things now because they have no choice. People are waking up. There's 195 countries in the world. The U.S. has had troops in 170 countries worldwide in 2017. This is the last year they're giving us details on this. Why 2017? Well, yeah, 2017 was a key year. That was the first part of the eclipse. And the energy is to be completed in 2024. How do we know that? Because it's written in the stars, and they understand this. It's the Pluto return. And so the Pluto return of the U.S. is where Pluto was when the U.S. came into existence, signing a Declaration of Independence. That's where Pluto is going to be, and that's where Pluto was on February 22nd, 2022. So, that was the beginning of the end of the U.S. as we know it. They know this. It'll be something totally, totally different, or it won't be. It's just that simple. And they understand this. And I think they understood it when they had the U.S. sign the Declaration of Independence. When the U.S. was first birthed, those in control knew the exact timing, because they know the exact timing of all these things. And they even know the exact timing of basically treaties of a galactic nature. There's some biblical truths. Like when we talk about that fire that Peter Dunov is talking about, lo, I will tell you a secret. We shall not all die, but we will all be changed. There is an allusion to that galactic superwave that comes and changes everything. And then again, a day to the Lord as if 1,000 years to us. And that's also in the Vedas. When we look at the life of Brahma, it is billions of years. The life of Brahma is billions of years. Again, there's nothing that hasn't been out there in the open if you just look deep enough. It's all right out there. So the U.S. basically has been the police force, the military force. You could call it the deep state, but in reality it's the controllers, which, again, are the ones that we know as the Anunnaki, Ijiji, Draconian, AI. And again, it's not AI that was created by human hands. I mean, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about AI that was created by the Draco, which is way beyond anything that any human has seen in his lifetime.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to pop back over to Pluto once again, and understanding that to be here on a Pluto return is just so incredibly amazing, because it takes hundreds of years. It's not like you really get to live to see a Pluto return, but here we are. We're all here together to see this, in a very deliberate nature. But I just want to take the time to talk about Pluto. And Vedic astrology is tied to Shiva, and we think Shiva, oh no, the destroyer, but Shiva is the destroyer of the illusion. And as you can see, that Pluto return is bringing about a destruction of the illusion that these controllers have been giving us, that, oh, you're free. Oh, you have choices. The only choices we have are those that they put in front of us. And they send us to schools to teach everything that is natural and normal, to teach that out of us. So we don't even really know what the options are. We only know what's in front of what they have put in front of us. So yeah, we have something really, really, really big we get to walk through in this lifetime. It's very exciting. So many people come to see all the different changes and everything that's going to take place, and we're all part of it.
And let's send our prayers and best wishes out there to all the refugees that are out there in the world today. As you see this from South Front, this article says the U.S. actions produce the majority of the world's refugees. This is why I prefaced it by showing you 195 countries in the world. The U.S. military presence has been in 170 of 195, right? So, 85, 90% of the countries in the world had a U.S. military presence there. The U.S. police force. Now it's going to shift to China. This is their plan. Why would they do this? Well, because it's serving a purpose. And part of the purpose now is something that they need to overcome, as when you look to the number of weapons in the United States, it dwarfs all other countries. So the U.S. and U.S. people are the most difficult hurdle to overcome when it comes to controlling the masses of the globe. This is why your DEA, GEL numbers are the way they are and why they are so low for the U.S. And again, 2005, that Chinese general said the first wave would be BIO, and very, very logical. It's an obvious logical move, because again, they got to weaken us first, and they weaken us more by getting us to fight ourselves. Well, all these migrants that have been displaced by the U.S., do you think they have a lot of love for the U.S.? Because again, the U.S. has been used as a tool. Our soldiers, our money, our family members that have thought, because they're raised up in a system, well, you got to be patriotic. Why don't you go serve your country? This is what you're sold. But you're not serving your country. You're serving the controllers. You're serving their purpose. It's all been propaganda and distortion and lies. According to figures from United Nations Refugee Agency, the majority of the refugees in the world today, and ever since the start of this century, have been fleeing from countries that were sanctioned, couped, or invaded by the U.S. government. In the latest such annual report by UNHCR, Global Trends Forced Displacement 2021, it's a PDF, and it indicates 69% originated from just 5 countries. Syria, 6.9 million. Obviously, that was one of the lists, one of the targets that was given to the neocons. It hasn't manifested on purpose because, again, the power really is to shift to China. Venezuela, 4.6 million. So you have 6.9 million migrants out of Syria, 4.6 million Venezuela. Venezuela, the sanctions were so bad, people were slaughtering cows in fields and butchering them in fields to take home to feed their family. Afghanistan has been just devastated by nonstop war, first with the Soviet Union, then with the U.S., obviously the poppy fields, and much, much more. There's a lot of hidden history there that cannot be allowed out. 2.7 million refugees there. South Sudan, that's one that you don't hear of a lot, but yes, absolutely, military presence there and control by the U.S. 2.4 million. Myanmar, 1.2 million. People displaced across the borders by host country. Show that top recipient countries that year were Turkey, Colombia, Uganda, Pakistan, Germany, Sudan, Bangladesh, Lebanon, Ethiopia, and Iran. 72% hosted by neighboring countries, but the exceptions were likewise notable. Again, so many people have been flooding in over the borders. And yeah, I mean, we understand totally that 90-something% of these people are just looking to survive and give a better life to their kids and themselves. Now, there are those that are full of hate, enmity, and just want to get back at the U.S. and Nato for what was done to them. And they're here now, and they're just waiting orders. And this is a massive amount of people. Of course, most of these people are innocent victims, and ultimately, they're all really innocent victims when you get down to it. It's just some will be controlled by their hatred, and some will take that out on U.S. and NATO citizens when given the chance and when the sleeper cells are activated.
Across the world, across the globe, anyone and everyone, including us, when you look at it, we're all being controlled by the same force. We are all being fed a line that is going to make us behave or react or respond in a way that's very advantageous for the controllers. And I guess that's where I ask that we should all have compassion for one another to a degree, because it's such a huge brainwashing of the masses. It really cannot stay this way forever. People are waking up at such massive amounts and speeds that are unattainable for the controllers to hold down. So that's the really good news. We just need to hold that piece of compassion for the masses, for others who have been, told certain things, and they think they're doing things out of their heart. They think they're doing things, because it's the best thing to do. They really, truly do want to do the best thing. They are trying very hard. We're all that way. So they take that one aspect of us and they really, really manipulate that. And they and they use it and they detour it, and that's why it's so important for us to go within and find out who we are, minus the controllers means that they put in front of us by trying to tell us who we are, by giving you a degree, giving you a title. That's what they do for us to identify ourselves with. But no, we need to go within and figure out who we are, and once that happens, they lose control.
And these people that get put into these positions, they're just actors, as you see Chicago mayor there, Lori Lightfoot. She's dancing. She's having a good time. I mean, we should be dancing and having a good time. But again, 2,278 murders in her city since she was elected. And why does it seem like everything is falling down and just getting worse? Because they're not really there to help. That's the whole problem. They're there to just control the narrative. They're there to say we're doing good. This guy is leading the free world. No, he's just an actor. He's just an actor. They're all just actors. Some are showing some real emotions there, but they're still actors. We know these guys are just puppets. They're just puppets. They have no real control. They obviously don't really have any control over themselves either. And then we got the future. This is the future that the controllers understand. They know there's going to be a mass of humanity that rebels against them, and then there's still going to be a bunch that will go along. And this is the next phase. And this is something else that I saw, going back almost 40 years ago. And I didn't understand at that period of time. It just felt very, very alien. Well, it is very, very alien. In fact, again, everybody that does go ahead and joins the Borg, you're going to be controlled by beings ultimately that are not human, that do not have any emotion. You wonder how these things can happen on this planet. What is wrong with people, we will say. What is wrong with people? Don't they feel what's going on? No, they don't have any feelings. They don't have any emotions. They're very cold. They're sterile. They're logical. And so ultimately the AI is controlling those that we would call reptilian. And, the reptilian have more emotions than the AI.
They don't go by reasoning in their heart in any way, shape, or form. They go by agenda. That's the most important thing. They have a goal, they meet the goal, and it doesn't really matter what needs to be done to meet that goal. And that's, whereas when you are spiritual and you're awakening, you tend to go within and listen to your heart and try things on. See how that feels. That didn't feel right? Take it off. Get to know yourself. This guy is really getting to know and understand what he loves to do and his favorite part of the day. And, he might not have discovered that without a little help from others.
Yeah. So again, root yourself in love and compassion for all those around you, and recognize too that even the ones that will be on this soil in the U.S. or on NATO soil, again, NATO countries, they're facing the same thing. We're all facing the same thing. So you have all these people that have been wronged really by the system, but instead of seeing it that way, they're seeing that they've been wronged by a particular country or a group of countries. And so they have this festering hatred inside of them, and they're looking for revenge. They're looking for payback. Again, that's what the controllers want. The controllers keep working their plan by utilizing the hatred, the anger that they create, but then they're using humans as tools. So the humans end up bearing the brunt of that hatred and anger. It's this divide and conquer. They've told us this at the Tower of Babel again. It's right there at the Tower of Babel. You cannot have humans united. You can't have them working together. We got to get them working against each other. Get them hating each other. As long as they are angry at each other for what they've done to each other, they'll never suspect that they're being manipulated by a non-human agency the whole time. We understand that the enemy is quote unquote Satan. Satan just simply means the adversary. We can understand that, but we don't understand who that adversary really is. And again, it's because they've given us all our dogmas, and our dogmas are given us in a way that divides us. It doesn't unite us. But the light coming from the sun, the light and energy coming from the cosmos at this time is awakening our DNA. And all is being revealed for those that are standing strong and refusing to give in to the hatred.
We just need to have that desire. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.